Get
So
it going.
here we are. We're going to talk a little bit about what happens when buyers leave you and buy from somebody else. How do you navigate that disappointment? Um, and
I'm in, it just says.
what was that?
Yeah, there. She's up. We're good.
Okay.
Keep going.
So, so Doug, I'm going to turn it to you. What have you
Well,
ever had that experience?
well, first of all, guys, this is all about relationships, right? We know that this business is all about building those relationships. And I'm kind of a guy that likes to I take a page out of Dr. Don Phelan's book on meeting with a buyer, first day, first moment, the moment that you meet them, right? Literally, I encourage, and I know that sounds a little bit old-fashioned, but it's just me. I'm a guy that likes to get in front of the client, and I'd like to do that right away. Um, Two reasons I do that. Number one, I really want to explain how the business operates, right? So often we just assume that people just know how the process works with buying a house. And so often I find that in my early opening discussions with people, you know what's interesting? They have not a clue, right? And shame on me if I don't sit down and I don't build that relationship. I don't talk about needs and wants and wishes and desires. Again, this is all about that, number one. Okay. Number two, I always spend a lot of time explaining my value. So often we're not good at explaining our value. And I think that's one thing that after 20 years of doing this business, that I really need to sharpen my saw and get better at explaining the value of me being in this transaction, right? And I don't know if I don't know if we just feel sometimes that we're a little bit like, well, I don't know if I really want to go into that at this point in time or not. You do. You do. So again, the importance for me to meet with that client initially, talk about what's important to them, explain the process. And again, when I talk about the process of buying a home. And then, of course, you guys all hear me say this over and over again, signing that buyer agency, right? You got to spend time right up front in my mind. If I don't do it, and I work with family, I work with friends. Sometimes it's a little difficult with family and friends too, because they just assume that they're going to buy from me, and I assume that they're going to buy from me, and there's a lot of assumptions that go on here. But if you don't have that opening conversations about value and about buyer agency, those two things will come back to, at least in my professional opinion, will come back to haunt you in the process. So Don, I don't know if I answered that question right up front or not, but I do take a page out of your book. It's super important to be with people and explain that value up front.
Well, and I have an acronym for it. It's CITO, CITO. Come into the office.
I got to write that down. Okay.
CITO. Come into the office. And I do that. I've been doing it for well over 30 years. And the reason is that I got hit on the nose with a newspaper so many times, like we all do. I go out and show a house without any sort of meeting like that. And the next thing I know, they're writing an offer with their brother-in-law, who's a meat cutter at Meyer and does
Yeah.
that was um, it's all it happened to all of us. And finally, I got tired of it happening to me. And so I started working with buyers on the come into the office first program. We as an industry, I think, have done a great disservice to ourselves. We have trained buyers to not make any sort of commitment, not have any meeting with us, and sit down and have that come into the office meeting. Can you imagine any other industry? I mean, if you call an electrician, what do? They say, I'm going to come over and I'm going to give you an estimate. And sometimes they even charge for an estimate. If you take your car into the car dealer, for example, and say, hey, I want you to run a diagnostic on this. And they'll go, that'll be 50 to $100.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they basically say, come into my office. Let's have a conversation. about what we're going to do, how much it's going to cost you before I pick up a screwdriver and try to fix something.
Hmm.
Okay. Can you imagine this conversation? A person gets on the phone with a doctor and says, "Hey, doc, I Googled some stuff and I found out that I think I have to have my spleen removed. So if you could just do me this, tell me how much it's going to cost, and I'll meet you at the operating room over there at the hospital, and you can take care of this, and we'll be all good. Would that be okay?"
Yeah, yeah.
What doctor is going to do that?
Yeah,
What lawyer is going to meet you at the courthouse to file a lawsuit? They're going to sit down, they're going to have a conversation, they're going to take your retainer, that'll be $5,000, please.
yeah,
And we as an industry have taught consumers to treat us the way they treat us. It's our fault. And we're the only ones who can fix it.
yeah, yeah. And Don, I not to interrupt, but I agree 100%. I think there's value, and I don't think, I know there's value in that initial meeting because people say, well, why would I come to the office? What's the reason that I would do that? Or why do we meet at a coffee shop? But I just want to go see that house, right? And so
Mhm.
often what happens is unless you explain that process to people, the assumption, here we go with you assume that again they understand this process. And so often what happens is, and you guys can all equate to that, right? How many buyers really understand the process of what happens when in the buying of a house? Because again, quite frankly, I know the first time I talk to first time home buyers, they're like a deer in the headlights. They don't know what's going to happen first, right? And so unless you sit down and kind of talk about that, um, it's kind of like it really kind of shapes the way that this experience is going to go. And that's what I love about that whole process. So, um,
Well, and some agents will tell me, experienced agents have said to me, I'm happy to go out and show one house, meet the buyer, build some rapport, all of that. And I say, okay, and understand that you're taking a risk, and that's okay. It's a business decision. If you're willing to invest that time, that's perfectly okay. Go show them one house. Go show them two houses if you want to, but establish some expectations between you and that potential client. When are we going to have that come into the office conversation? Am I going to show you one, two, three? Where in that process are we going to sit down and establish a relationship that we understand um, how we're going to work together?
yeah, yeah. Well, and I agree with you, Don, with regards to, understanding roles. It sounds crazy, but in that initial meeting, I was talking about the role of a buyer's agent. This is going to be my role in this whole process. And I go through these certain steps. Cindy Beckwith is really great at this because she's got a layout of what happens as a buyer's agent, what happens as a seller's agent. And I think we can't sometimes spend enough time explaining the value of what I'm going to bring to the table. When you go to an open house for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this is what you're going to experience. Okay. And again, we kind of talk about that emotional attachment to a house. If they like the house, just remember that the listing agent, the person that you're going to meet at that home, is working for whom? They're working for the seller, right? So if you love the house, and I laugh when I say this, but I'm serious. If you like what you see there and you're walking through the house, don't get excited in front of the listing agent. Get back in your car, drive down to the end of the road, and do what? Pick up the phone and give me a call. And so often what happens is that's kind of how you want to shape that experience as to looking at the house. So I don't know if that answered that question or not, Don. I think we did good. So
I think that one of the things that just asked me a lot is, well, what is the nature of your conversation when they come into the office?
mhm,
Uh, and the first thing is I sit down and have a conversation just to get acquainted. Um, what I did is I fashioned my buyer agency meeting from my listing presentation. And I have a list of questions that I ask. I have a procedure in the listing appointment that I follow to the letter. And
mhm,
when I started building it, I thought, well, let me flip the script and use it for a buyer. Do the same thing. Sit down, uh, have a conversation, get acquainted, ask a bunch of questions, find out what their what they know and what they don't know, and then fill in the blanks, fill in the answers for them, and
Mhm.
say, this is how this whole process works. And, at the end of it all, I'm going to talk about what my qualifications might be and how they fit their needs. And then I'm going to ask them a simple question. Based on what we've shared today, do you feel that I'm capable of helping you buy your house?
Good question.
And if they say, well, no, then I say, well, have a great day. Don't ever call here again, or something along that line. I don't. But anyway, but the point is, get some level of commitment from them. If they're not ready to sign a buyer agency contract in that moment, I get it. I've been down that road, but at least you're starting to establish some sort of expectation that you're going to give them something. It's a fair trade. You're going to give them your time and energies and knowledge, and they're going to give you a commitment. Ultimately, if you don't have that commitment, you got nothing.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. Well, it stems to our kind of our next topic, Don, and I really want to spend a little bit of time on this because it we get a lot of call in broker support, and you can identify with this with agents that'll say, Doug, I'm working with these people and they haven't signed a buyer agency. I've taken them to maybe 6 or 7 homes over the last maybe month and a half. On a scale of 1 to 10, I don't really know where they're at in terms of buying. I'm really nervous because, we all have this technology in our hands, right? So Zillow's going to find my house for me, right? So you're worried that they're going to go out and find a house without you, okay? They go to an open house. Maybe you're aware of that. Maybe you're not aware of that, right? You find out down the road that, oh my gosh, I didn't stay in touch with them. They talked to the listing agent, and lo and behold, unbeknownst to anybody, they bought through this listing agent. The listing agent just encouraged them to buy the house. And I see a lot of head shaking here. I'm hoping not a lot of us have experienced that. I
Yeah.
know I have. And you know what? I keep going right back to Doug Hale. Doggone it. You didn't explain your value, right? It didn't, everybody can kind of relate to that. But again, I keep going back to me saying, doggone it, Doug, if you just took more time, if you just explained more, um, here they go off, like a loose cannon to this open house. They meet this listing agent they've known for the last, what, 10 minutes, right? All of a sudden, this listing agent convinces them to write the offer with them. And lo and behold, you're kicking yourself, right? Saying, what did I do wrong? So I don't know if anybody else has experienced that. I know I have. And all I'm doing is saying to you folks today, please get better at this meeting that Don talks about, right? Get better at bringing them value up front. And Don, I just love your list because that tells them literally how you're going to work, right?
Yeah. And if you get a vibe that you don't feel that you're going to have their loyalty in the process,
Yeah.
I don't have time in my life to work with them. I've got bicycles to ride. I got grandchildren to read books to. Okay. I'm not going to make them a
Yeah.
priority, right? Uh,
Mhm.
but I think we also have to identify that when we have that experience, our first reaction is to try to get something from it, even if we have a buyer's agency contract signed with someone. If you don't have a buyer's agency contract signed, you got nothing to begin with. If you write with a listing agent, that listing agent has and the seller and the buyer have no obligation to you whatsoever.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Even if you have a buyer's agency contract signed, imagine this. Think about how much it's going to cost to retain an attorney and sue for, let's say, a anywhere from eight to $12,000 commission, just as an average. Okay,
Yeah.
that money is going to get eaten up so fast. So rather than trying to go down that road and recoup money,
Say, I want to
get it up front.
of her castmates in our next hour with Jenna, and she's cool.
Yeah. No,
Um,
go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
so it's very It's really important to have that conversation, get that agreement up front, because if you attempt or think you're going to get it after the fact, after you've been kicked to the curb, it's highly, highly unlikely that's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there, I'm trying to put myself in the buyer's minds when they go through that house and they're having this meaningful conversation with this person that they've known for 10 minutes. Let me say that again, 10 minutes, right? And all of a sudden, out of the blue comes this conversation about writing on this house. I'm kind of trying to be the buyer in my mind saying, well, is the buyer saying yes to writing with this listing agent because if I go directly to, and this is me making this up, but I don't know if I'm making this up or not. But if I write this offer with the listing agent right now in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to get a better deal on this house, right? Right? And I don't know if there's something that goes through people's mind that says, yeah, that makes sense. I want to do that. And I don't know if you guys can all relate to that or not, but that's no different than a buyer picking up the phone and calling the listing agent, right? Well, shame on Doug
Oh,
Hale as the buyer's agent, right, Don?
I missed what you said. You froze up on my computer there for a second.
Oh, don't let me froze up. Don't let
Yeah,
me froze up here.
going
Jeez.
to port, just
This,
get a rest. It'll be
this
okay.
is
Make
this is
it.
important. So I'm in the buyer's mind saying I'm going to write this offer with the listing agent, right? Because there's something in my mind that says if I write this with the listing agent, then I'm going to get a better deal on this house, right? So I just feel like I will.
That's one possibility, and it's a possibility which I've known that some listing agents will actually tell you that. Hey, if you write with me today, I'm
Hmm.
going to, charge a lower commission to my seller, which means that you have a better chance of getting your offer accepted, or could pay a lower price. Um, that's kind of borderline unethical, but it can happen. The other thing is when they walk into an open house and they're standing there and there's 12 other people in the open house, and the listing agent says, "Well, I've got three offers sitting on the on the counter, which I'm
Mhm.
going to be presenting to my seller after the open house is over. Do you want to write an offer or do you want to lose out? Fear of loss is a greater motivator than the opportunity to gain." And um, it may just be that they are afraid to lose it to somebody else. We
Wait a
don't know
minute.
what their motivation is. It doesn't matter.
Say that again slower.
What's that?
What you just said. The fear of loss. Yeah.
Fear of loss is a greater motivator than the opportunity to gain. For example, if you're going to lose your car to
Get
the
it.
possession person, you're going to do whatever it takes. You're going to flip hamburgers. You're going to take out trash. You're going to do whatever it takes to keep that car in the garage. You're
Yeah.
not going to do the same thing to go out and buy a new car. You're going to save your pennies. You're going to think maybe I can buy something a little bit less or use or whatever, but you're not going to go and do what you would do to keep what you have. The fear of loss is a greater motivator than the opportunity to gain. It's
Yeah.
as simple.
Yeah. I like it. No, I get it. I get it. Well, again, that's kind of where I'm going with this whole thing because, we talk about representation. In our initial meeting, we talk about the importance of value and what we bring to the table. But don't you find that interesting that we still find ourselves in these situations with people walking into an open house or calling the listing agent? Again, I'm just reiterating through this entire process the value of what I bring.
Yeah.
And I'll say things kind of nicely like, hey, just reminder that that listing agent's working for the seller of the property and I'm working for you, right? So I say that in a way that it's just kind of a little bit of a reminder to keep it in front of people because I think that's important. So,
The other thing is we hear the words procuring cause. Has anyone ever heard the phrase procuring cause? Anyone? Okay. Um, Throw that away. Just get rid of it. Delete it from your memory bank. The likelihood that you're going to win a procuring cause case is between zero and nothing. Since the NAR settlement, which went into effect, I believe it was August 17 of 2024, um, I don't know of any procuring cause case which has been brought before the board that an agent has won. I'm not even sure there has been, to my knowledge, one in the Greater Regional Association of Realtors here in Grand Rapids.
Hmm.
But the bar for winning a procuring cause case has always been extremely high. You have to show your records of working with them for a long time, a buyer's agency contract in place, signed by the buyer, that you've stayed in touch with them over time. Procuring cause is virtually impossible to win, and it's going to take an enormous amount of your time. So there's that one.
But how many of us heard that? I know Tracy did. Tracy's on the call. I think this kind of goes back to it was a thing a while back, right, Don, or am I wrong? And now today it's kind of not a thing. Am I
It's
saying that right?
yeah, it's really not, and it has always been extremely hard to win. Um, I can't say that I can identify one procuring cause case in my 38 years of this business that a
Hmm.
buyer's agent or an agent working with a buyer has won.
Yeah.
Um, in front of a board. Has it happened? I'm sure it has, but the bar is extremely high. You have to show a whole list of, it's not just opening a door, it's not
Yeah.
just writing an offer. Uh, and so before you go down that road, think very carefully that this is going to take an enormous amount of your time.
Yeah.
It's best
Yeah.
to do it right the first time, sit down with him, get a mutual commitment to work together as a team to find them a house, get it in writing, go show them houses, and cash paycheck later.
Yeah. 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 No,
I,
I
I
like
was
what
going to say something real quick if I could.
yes.
And that
No,
was,
actually, no, not no.
Oh, you
okay,
can.
bye, bye. But regarding procuring costs, and something Doug said earlier, what happens when the buyer hits the Zillow button, calls the Zillow agent, calls this, the number on the sign.
Yep.
Procuring cause is still, to me, the same thing as Doug's answer to why did the buyer call the phone number on the sign? Why did the buyer click the button on Zillow? Why did the buyer go to, another agent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You always have to point the finger back towards yourself. What have I done? What didn't I communicate? How did my relationship make a right hand turn and I was unaware of it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like the Doug's answer, which was accept responsibility and look back at yourself to say, what could I have done differently so this never happens again?
Yep. Yep. Well, and Tracy, I kick myself time and time again. Hopefully, it doesn't happen that often, but again, about going back to those initial things that you said when you first met these folks in that relationship, to be able to say, "Hey, this is how we're going to work together." And so often, what happens, and again, in my mind, I need to throughout this process keep reminding them of that because there's a whole lot of things sometimes that get in your way like listing agents, like other people that want to tell you how to buy a house and the right way to do that. And the bottom line is, you've got to. This is all about communication in my mind. If you
I want
constantly are communicating, right, Don? Am I saying it right? You got to just keep in front of your buyer no matter what, all the way through
I want
it.
to, Melissa, can you unmute?
Yes.
Um, okay. Melissa, you had a question about or a statement about your buyer who calls the listing agent. Can you unmute and share?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
It's actually the buyer's husband. So she's the buyer, she's the investor, but yet he always calls the listing agent first.
Hmm.
And I mean, uh, on some levels, that's fine. I can't control all human behavior in the mix. Even with an agency contract in place, he calls and then he'll text me first before her and give me all kinds of questions that he's already asked the listing agent. And then I'll get on the phone with the listing agent and act completely innocent and fresh. I won't say, by the way, this man who called you, it's actually my buyer's spouse. And I'll act completely innocent, completely fresh phone call and learn other information. And then through the discussion, generally, I will disclose some information. Sometimes the listing agent will say, "Oh, wait, I've had these similar questions from this person who called recently. Is this related?" So I guess interestingly enough, I was at church yesterday and my pastor, who happens to be a Michigan guy, he was talking about value, and he was talking about being meh, meh. You don't want to be meh. You want to add value. And meh, like our teenagers say, mid. Mom, that's mid. You don't want to be meh. And I thought, well, what is it about my value in this situation that is not translating through to the buyer, aka the spouse, because they're really a team. Even though she is the investor, they're really a team.
And I'm not sure, Melissa, that there's anything you can do to control it other than to maybe have a conversation with them and say, this puts me in an awkward situation with listing agents. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, get answers for you, but because I'm the person you're working with to help you purchase, it would really help me to know what information you need. Whether that works or not, I can't tell you. It sounds
Mhm.
like husband may be a control freak who wants to just um, do this regardless. I mean, I don't know. That's the only information or guidance I can give you. Uh,
Yeah. Well,
we
listen, I'm going to say the same thing real quick. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, that is something that you can't control. What you said earlier, human behavior. I mean, it's just those are questions that are going to come up. You just can't control them, but you can give the best answers that you've got, and again, move forward from there. So, yeah, go ahead.
um,
Sorry.
Several have asked, what information do I ask when I'm in a committee office meeting? And I'm going to go right from, who, what, where, why, how. Uh, when are you thinking about moving? When do you need to move? What would it do to your plans if you couldn't find the right house within a certain period of time? Help me help you. Have you been pre-qualified? Find out everything. Write down a list of all of those questions. I don't have them right handy at the moment, but I can probably dig them up for my buyer's agency presentation. Um, and just go through absolutely everything in terms of when they want to move, how much money they have available, is it in cash, is it going to be is it going to be a mortgage, what's the percentage, all of those kind of things. Are you looking for a 2 bedroom, 4 bedroom, 8 bedroom, what? Just ask everything you can. Jamie had a question there about what do I present that explains my value. uh, well, again, the meeting itself explains your value to a large extent. It shows them that you're a pro, for one. But I go back to when it comes time to present my background, I will share with them uh, my experience in the business, number of years, which doesn't necessarily relate to anything except that I've done thousands of transactions and blah blah blah. Um, but I think it's really more important what my educational background is, what my I've got an ABR, ePro, CRS, all of that stuff. But bottom line, regardless of all of your resume, real estate resume, whatever that might be, it's really more important that you're showing them that you care. That's really all. People work with people that they know, like, and trust. And if you can demonstrate to them, regardless of your level of experience, years of experience, that you know that they can know you to trust you and that you will respect your working relationship with them and help them achieve the objectives that you've just identified by asking them a bunch of questions. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me, Don. My goodness, yes. Heck yes. The more you show value, and Jamie, you're good at that. I mean, we've sat in many coffee hours together. to be able to explain to someone what you bring to the table. I will tell you that just between all of us here in this room, there aren't a whole lot of agents that take the time to do that. Okay, there just aren't. And again, it's very obvious to me that the conversations that I have with buyers, they'll say things like, "Well, my last agent never told me that," or "We've never talked about that," or so again, the fact that you're having these conversations, these meaningful conversations with your buyer, shows you're listening, shows you're in this to win this for them. And again, you're going to see where that pays a big dividend for you with the relationship with your buyer. So, any more questions, Don, on the screen that we need to be
I
looking
think
into? Any thoughts on anybody's minds? You guys look like you're all ready to go find buyers. I can tell by the look on those faces, right? Good. Well, hey, if there aren't any more, I'm going to wish you guys a great week. Spring market's here. Come on, folks, we got to get going. We got more inventory to get together and more buyers to go sell houses to. And I just know that this is the group that's going to do that. So thanks for taking the time today, you guys. Don, as always, any parting words for us?
nope, go get to work.
No, that's it. That's all you got?
That's all I
Gee,
got.
usually this guy's got a parting word that'll just keep us going all week. So, hey, we truly appreciate your time, you guys. Again, I hope you have a great week, and let's pray for some good sunshine and good warmth. So,
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
all
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks everybody for being